club update on which book was it?
The Paying Guest by Sarah Waters.
Sarah Waters, yes.
So, interesting book. I like this type of book personally because it's an unreliable narrator, although Frances, isn't it, the main character is not necessarily the narrator, but we're following the story from her point of view.
Yes, we are.
And it turns out she's, although worldly in many ways, very, very naive. And an interesting story, interesting time from of course it's a gay writer, so she often writes from a woman, strongly from a woman's perspective, and there's obviously a political theme there going on as well. But about the poverty of these women, Frances and her mother, who have to take in these paying guests, which is their nice middle-class term for lodgers.
Right, and the change in circumstance, the shocking change in circumstance, where they thought they were set for life and would be genteel, and suddenly they're frightened that all their friends will dump them and not talk to them anymore because they're doing this thing which is shocking and earning money from something type thing.
That's right. And also, I mean, the vast decline in Frances's social position, where she goes from being the only daughter to being the child lady, effectively. She has to do the cleaning, which her mother remains throughout the story deeply embarrassed about, but never really lifting a finger to help. It's like
I don't think she can. I don't think she knows how to do it, does she?
No, she's almost an Edwardian woman, really, isn't she?
Yeah.
So I'm interested. I mentioned earlier that other people within the book club clearly felt some sense of discomfort about this
because
book.
you were not at this book club.
I wasn't at the meeting, so I've read it since, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think it would have made for a very good discussion.
Yes, well, other people had read other things by her before. I had not, and were quite excited to read this book because of other ones they'd read. But those were the people who seemed to be the most disappointed. But I didn't have that perspective to come from. I kind of enjoyed it as an interesting take on a period of time and just another, because I haven't read any books by her, so it was all quite interesting to me. But they said things such as it was self-indulgent, that she just seems to always want to write about a lesbian relationship and just kind of shoves it into the story, whether it actually goes with the story or not. And the whole murder thing, they were like, that's just ridiculous. It was just so ridiculous. I mean, really. And also, actually, talking about the time that it was, and that was interesting, the time. They said she didn't get into that as much as she could have at all. They felt it was very superficial description and you know, the feeling you got of understanding that era was not as it could have been. And also, the ending everybody more or less hated.
Okay.
I think there was one person possibly who liked the ending, but most of us felt, what? It had quite a big good rhythm, and then just kind of went, meh.
Yeah, I think this, my perspective on it was, I agree with many of those comments actually. The setting, you think, okay, so it's post-war, we've got this issue about lack in drop in social status. There was quite a bit about the resentment of men towards women taking what they felt taking their jobs.
And also, perversely, the women having to give the jobs back, which must have been very hard.
Yes. But again, you kind of, I think when you read Sarah Waters, you know you're going to have a lesbian relationship in there somehow, and that was fine, because like others, I've read other works by her. But what I felt with this, I think the author's playing with the idea of having a big twist in the plot, and I'm not sure it was as big a twist as she'd hoped, because I think we'd been signalled heavily that, well, really the antagonist in the story, variously Lillian, Lil and Lily, depending on who was addressing her, was this sort of chameleon character. It was quite clear she was a chameleon character, I think. Again, the murder, it wasn't.
It was just that they could so easily have gone, oh look, it was an accident.
Yeah, perhaps.
And it would never have had to be all this. You know, it was just...
I think Lily finds herself in a position where if her husband's dead, she collects the money. So clearly she had that as a motivator, and we're signposted very clearly she comes from a poor background, so she's got no chance of earning lots of money. She knows what her husband's been up to and is very unhappy. But stitching it all together, like many others, it sounds, I didn't feel convinced in the end that was...
Hello.
We're a filming agent.
If you've read the book, come and join in.
Just start again.
I did tell him we were going to be filming, like he's forgotten.
So I think, yeah, it was an interesting read, but disappointing on several levels because, yeah, we didn't get a good feel for the time necessarily. The characters were not as convincing. Although I did like the character of Frances because she's just so unworldly and she makes all these ridiculous mistakes. And you can see how she got to being that person that she is, even though clearly there's some, you know, she desperately wants to be loved, she desperately wants to be in a relationship, and social conventions like trying to shove her back in a box and hammer the lid on, you know.
Yeah. It must have been a horrendously frustrating time for women in general, and I think that's why they added on the lesbian aspect, because it kind of fitted with that whole era where women were like, I've been shown some independence, I've been shown that I've been appreciated and some equality, a little taste of what life could be like. And then the war finished and it was all, everybody go back in your box.
Yeah.
And so possibly it was trying to be pushing that a little bit and actually taking that person and taking her problems and making them slightly more enlarged, and then equally trying to sort of constrain her.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea. I think in many ways Sarah Waters have pulled it off, but given that it's not her first novel, people have certain expectations. I think many people would have been disappointed, and so I'm not surprised at that verdict. That said, I can imagine it would be very lively discussion because no two people are going to agree on those the issues that are raised. So yeah, probably a good one.
Okay.